Are you serious?
I misunderstood the memo. I thought we were going to be professional today.
Oh, my goodness.
But speaking of professional, nice shirt.
Thank
I
you. I
really do
appreciate
like
it.
that shirt.
I appreciate it.
My grandmother used to have a robe made out of that.
Wow. Hey, my wife dresses me, man. Come on.
Is there any way for you to turn down the volume on that?
Let's talk about LCT.
Let's do that, okay. So we want to say to you, Merry Christmas to you and your family. We're glad that you could join us here for this Living Christmas Tree memory or set of memories. You know, for over 56 years, First Baptist Church has been blessed to bring the Living Christmas Tree to the El Paso community. And, you know, we've seen thousands and thousands of people come through our church over these years. And so, you know, the first Living Christmas Tree that we did was actually a youth program. And there was a small tree that was put over in the corner. And so our teenagers helped lead us off that first year. And over the years, we've built a bigger tree. And we've included now the Sanctuary Choir from First Baptist Church. We've invited community musicians, singers, instrument players to come in and be part of this. So it's really a community offering that we give to El Paso. So Elvin, when you first got here 6 years ago, do you have any idea how big this was?
Well, I was actually here before that. I was a member before I started directing the music, and I had the privilege of singing under Ron Bowles. And it was great. I mean, I remember all those wonderful singers, Patty Wilson and Miss Portillo and Suzanne Bowles, and wonderful singers. And then I got to sing under Jim Cleveland. And we started bringing more of the community and more of the school choirs to come sing with us. And so I got to get a great perspective there. But it's nothing like when I started directing, because when I started directing, I started realizing how much behind the scenes work there was. Yeah. And it just blew my mind. But where I knew it was really special was after that first performance, I had endless audience members come up and tell me how important Living Christmas Tree was to them and their family, the memories that it brought back. And I realized at that moment, after they told me that Living Christmas Tree actually kicked off their Christmas, that this was a very special concert that meant so much to so many.
Yeah. Well, so for today, what we're going to do is we're going to go back from 2010 all the way up to the present and give you some memories and remind you of some of the Living Christmas Trees. And we'll begin with the years of 2010 to 2013. And so for all these years, First Baptist Church has been privileged to share the Christmas story with you through music. And what a great evening those always have been. So we hope that you'll enjoy this, but we also hope that it'll be more than just entertainment for you today.
Let the celebration begin. Bring the season in. Let the carols play over and over and over again. Wrap the presents like a tree. Jesus came to bring peace and goodwill to men. Let the celebration begin.
Prepared for what's to come. A baby changes everything. Not a ring on her hand.
Look who just checked in, into the heart, into the world, into the hearts of the boys and girls. Never been a baby quite like him. Look who just checked in. He knew us in the garden, he brought us through the flood. Saw the sacrifice of the fire and the blood. Everybody thought he'd been away for a while, so he came on into the world of time. Look who just checked in, into the barn, into the world, into the hearts of the boys.
Christmas. I personally enjoy the theme that was chosen for this weekend, Christ be born in you. This week, as I've thought about the theme, I thought to myself, what's the difference between Christ being born and Christ being born in you or me? To illustrate the difference, let me tell you a love story from El Paso. There was a young man by the name of Jose. He fell in love with Maria the very first time he saw her. It was in first grade. She walked into his classroom at Lamar Elementary School, and the very moment he spotted her, he fell in love. She had those beautiful, sparkling dark eyes and long, jet black hair, but it was the smile. It was her smile that captured his heart. During those elementary days, he would pester her on the playground. He'd pull her hair. He would show her that he loved her. But you know, he had cooties and all. In junior high, he admired her from afar. The truth was he was awkward and clumsy, and he just never believed that she'd have time for him. But it was in high school that everything changed. In fact, it was a Monday morning. He was walking down the hallway of El Paso High School, and Maria and a group of friends came walking straight up to him. Maria walked up and she said, "Jose, what an amazing game you played against Chapin on Friday. I was so proud of you." Jose didn't even know that she knew his name, much less she had watched him play football, and he just stood there. He didn't know what to say. Finally, he grunted a thank you. He blushed, and he went on to class. As he's walking down the hallway, he begins to think, she knows who I am. She knows my name. And he decides right then and there he's going to ask her to the homecoming dance. When he gets to English class, sort of like they do in junior high, he passed a note to one of Maria's friends. He asked her for her phone number. The friend looked at him rather oddly, but she slipped him the number, and so he held it like a treasure. He went to football practice, and all he could think about was Maria. He kept dropping passes and messing up. Finally, the coach yelled at him and said, "Jose, what are you thinking about? Get your mind in the game. Better yet, why don't you take a lap around the field?" As he's racing around the field, all he can think about is Maria, and he thinks to himself, how is the coach ever going to know? How am I going to explain to him I've fallen in love? He gets home that night. He's sitting on his bed in his bedroom. He's holding that treasured number in his hand, and he begins to think about calling her. He pulls his cell phone out. He dials the number the first time, but he doesn't have the courage to send it. He dials it again, still doesn't have the courage, so finally he says to himself, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to count to 5, and when I get to 5, I'm going to call her. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and he punches the button. Immediately the phone rings. He hears her voice and he starts to speak, and then he realizes it's a recording. It says, "Hi," Maria said, "Hi, I'm not able to come to my phone right now. If you'll just leave a message, I'll call you back as quickly as I can." Then the beep. He says, "Maria, this is Jose. You remember in the hallway today? Well, anyway, I'll call you later," and he hangs up. He shakes his head and he thinks to himself, I blew it. She'll never, ever want to talk to me. I'm such a nerd. Almost at the very instant he said that, the phone rang. He looked at it, and it was her number. Oh, my goodness. Am I going to answer? He looks at it. Finally, he hits answer. He hears her voice. She says, "Hey, Jose, I'm so sorry I didn't answer. I didn't recognize your number. I didn't know who you were. So why didn't you call me?" I was thinking, if you don't have a date for the homecoming dance, if you wouldn't mind, I'd really love to take you to the homecoming dance." She said, "Are you asking me to the dance?" Yeah, I'm asking you to the dance." She said, "I'd love to go." He hung up immediately. He didn't even say anything. He had to call her back and say, "Oh, I'm so sorry. Something's wrong with my connection. I'd love to take you to the dance." That dance led to another date and another date, and they became high school sweethearts. They go off to UTEP together. Their junior year at UTEP, Christmas was their favorite season of the year. He brought her to the Living Christmas Tree performance, and then he took her out to the big Christmas tree downtown. He wanted to give her a very special Christmas gift. He takes her out there. He hands her a beautifully wrapped package. She looks at him rather oddly. "This is early," she said. "It's a special night. Just open it." She opens the package, and it's a beautiful Christmas sweater. And then he says, "I have one other gift for you." At this point, he slips off the bench they're sitting on, and he reaches into his coat pocket, and he pulls out a ring. He gets on his knees in front of Maria. He says, "Maria, would you marry me?" Now, how would you end that story? Can you imagine what the ending might have been? You see, the ending of that story is the difference between Christ being born and Christ being born in you. You see, when Jesus came into the world, he came not simply to have a friendship with you. He came to have a personal relationship with you.
Angels we have heard on high, sweetly singing o'er the plain, and the mountains in reply echo back their joyous strain.
With a message bringing peace on the earth, tidings of good cheer. Come, carolers, come and join these angels sing joy to the world. Christmas time is here, children. Gather around and listen. You'll hear the sound of angels filling the sky. Christmas time is here. Sing it loud with the message bringing peace on the earth, tidings of good cheer. Come, carolers, come and join these angels sing joy to the world. Christmas time is here again. Close to our hearts.
With the sights of Christmas all around, and the carolers are singing, joy to the world. On a cold and dreary winter night, a Savior's birth turned darkness into light, and the angels singing from above, joy to the world, peace on the earth, joy, 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 joy. Angels are singing.
and cozy are we. We snuggled up together like two birds of a feather would be. Let's take the road before us and sing a chorus or two. Come on, it's lovely weather for a sleigh ride together with you.
Everyone's dancing merrily in the new old-fashioned way. You will get a sentimental feeling when you hear voices singing, let's be jolly. Deck the halls with bells of holly, rocking around the Christmas tree. Have a happy holiday. Everyone's dancing merrily in a new old-fashioned
And now, Merry Christmas from beautiful one Hawaii.
Melikilikimaka is a thing to say on a bright Hawaiian Christmas day. That's the island greeting that we send to you from the land where palm trees sway. Here we know that Christmas will be green and bright, the sun should shine by day and all the stars at night. Melikilikimaka is Hawaii's way to say Merry Christmas to you.
The lights will work, the turkeys work, we're out above.
I lost my list, the tree won't fit, the train won't go.
The kids are sick and Edna's tick, there won't be snow.
The fruitcake's back, our cards are maxed, I'm out of dough.
Let's have a merry, merry Christmas, 'cause it's the best time of the year. Another merry, merry Christmas, just a day for you to cheer. Listen to the angels singing, listen to the angels singing, sing Gloria, Gloria. Whoever thought that a baby would rock the
This story is not in the Bible. In fact, it's just a legend put in written form by an American schoolteacher in 1941. A young boy, possibly a shepherd boy, who listened to the angels singing with his father in the fields that night, had a hobby. He was a drummer. Anyone out there had a child who wanted to be a drummer? It can be a mixed blessing, right? So as the story goes, after hearing the announcement of the angels, the shepherds went to Bethlehem. They urged the boy to come with them in search of this newborn king about whom they had just heard. When they reached the stable, the child and his parents were found. They realized this was no ordinary child. Shepherds came, wise men journeyed to see him, angels shouted songs of praise, and gifts were offered. But the poor shepherd boy had no gift to offer that was fit for a king. So he gave what he had, a song, on his drum. Mary gave him the okay, and the animals jammed along. And so he played. He played his very best. Then the newborn baby looked at the little boy and his drum and smiled.
Two 2014 was a special year for the Living Christmas Tree. That was our 50th anniversary. And so Jim Cleveland, who was our minister of music in those days, put together a program that involved people from the past. And so he invited some of the past singers and participants in the Living Christmas Tree. And part of that, he also invited 4 of our previous ministers of music who had been part of that 50-year history. And so he brought them back in. He asked them if they'd be willing to direct 2 or 3 maybe of the songs that they loved the most about their time with the Living Christmas Tree. And it provided us a great opportunity to celebrate 50 years of God using this vehicle to share the good news of Jesus' birth. So we wanted to share some of those with you from the 50th anniversary of the Living Christmas Tree.
In 1965, we were looking for something to do for Christmas, and so we had a youth choir. I started a youth choir when I got there in '64, and our pastor, Woodson Arms, had come from Fort Worth, and they had had a singing Christmas tree there, living singing Christmas tree, and so we decided to do it. And Earl Cleveland, who's Jim's dad, was the minister of education, and he kind of spearheaded it. And Daniel Boone was a constructor, and he helped, and then Jim himself and David, his brother, and a number of young people helped to build that tree, weld it together, and we had about 60 or so on the tree the first year, and decided that it went so well that we continue to do it.
I had never seen a Christmas tree. I'm not sure I had actually heard of them, and if I had heard of one, it was very superficial. So first of all, I had no idea of what I was getting into. It was really quite a wonderful experience, and a very challenging one, because when I was doing it, it was done entirely by youth. And so all of the natural things that occur when you have a group of youth were going on, even though it was a wonderfully talented group, and they were really no trouble. It's just kids are kids. I must share with the fact that over the years I have commented many times that after I left El Paso, I never had as talented a group of youth as I did with that group. It was, not only were they musically talented, and really musically talented, but they were able to bond and keep their egos present, but not an issue. And they really grasped the importance of being a part of the project and what can I contribute and how can I be a part of this to make it special. And when you put that together with talent and with parental support and with church support, what more can you ask? There was always an enthusiasm about it.
Well, I think the Living Christmas Tree is a wonderful ministry, and I'm grateful for the unique opportunity to be a part of a 50-year tradition in El Paso. I remember one of the things that impressed me the most when I went to First Baptist El Paso in 1979 was the excitement that we moved in the spring, and the excitement that the people had already about the Living Christmas Tree. Well, I remember how blessed I was with the strong attendance. Having just been brand new there, I didn't have any idea what the response would be in the community. But every night we had a large crowd, if not a packed house, and I remember how excited the students were about that. They felt encouraged, they felt really affirmed, and they felt a sense of ministry in sharing their faith through music. When I directed the Living Christmas Tree, it was a youth choir project, and that was a lot of fun. To see the responsibility that the students took for being sure that this was the best it could be.
Upon arrival in El Paso, I learned about the Living Christmas Tree. Back then, we called it the Living Singing Christmas Tree. The program up to that time, the Living Christmas Tree, had been mainly a youth choir activity. But then I think during that interim year, Ralph was able to use the adults and the youth maybe separately a little bit, but then they might have united on a couple of songs. And so it was that next year that we just made that permanent. I guess that would have been in '83. That it was a joint program between the youth choir and the adult choir, but we also added the orchestra that year. I don't know if it was related to an anniversary year like the 30th or 35th year, but we decided it was time for a larger tree because the numbers in the program had grown sufficiently to warrant a new tree, and also the lighting effects. It was time for some computerized lighting techniques and some different things with that. So we investigated the possibility of purchasing the new tree. For me, one of the challenges of the Living Christmas Tree was to always find ways to keep it fresh. And we discovered sort of a formula or a pattern that seemed to work for us. We moved into a little formula pattern where we had kind of a secular set up front, a little bit of a musical interlude in the middle with some special features, and then coming back in the latter portion of the program was actually the tree portion of the program. And that's when we became more focused on the Christmas story and all of the activities related to Christmas. And so that seemed to be a pretty good package for us, and we kind of let that evolve and emerge. But to find it fresh, we were always looking for some different elements that we could work into the program.
Thank you for coming tonight. It was in 1965 that I was one of those youth that John was talking about. There in that very first Christmas tree, that great looking guy right in the middle of the third row. And as we looked at the 50th anniversary, I believe God had put it on my heart that we ought to have kind of a musical journey down through the years. And so that's what we've tried to do tonight. And we hope that it's been a blessing to you, and it certainly has been to me, to share this time with not only these wonderful musicians and these dear friends and mentors, but with you. And so thank you for coming tonight. As we conclude this part of the program, this is some of the music that we've done just in recent years. Hope it is meaningful to you.
Let
So 2015 was the first year that they entrusted me with the Living Christmas Tree. I didn't realize how much work it was, from contracting the instrumentalists, teaching the choir songs, getting the staging done with Juan, building that huge tree, even putting orchestra lights on orchestra stands. I mean, every detail mattered. But with such a great crew and such a great staff, it was just a joy every step of the way. Every year, we try to tell the story a different way. The first year we used a hobo who turned into Jesus, and the next years we tried to take the different perspectives from the different Bible characters, from Mary, Joseph, the shepherds, even King Herod. We try to find, through the LCT, the true meaning of Christmas, to where it's not just a performance, but a worship service. Let's take a look back at some of the more recent Living Christmas trees.
Whoa, y'all's dressed real fancy. And you smell pretty good, too. Well, at least one of you does. I don't know. Depends on where I'm standing. Oh, my. There's a lot of people here. You know what? I got to guess I wandered into a church. Well, I hope y'all didn't find my presence too disturbing. You know, when I was younger, my grandmother, she'd always drag me to church, kicking and screaming. She dragged me anyway, though. Nothing could stop that woman. You know, I've wondered for a long, long time now, how on earth are grandmothers so strong? I figure it's got something to do with all the love that they hold in their bones.
Like a drama unfolding, the curtain was opening while an audience of angels was holding its breath. A census, a manger, to travel-worn strangers. The stage was finally set. Angels folded their wings at the throne worshiping as God whispered, "I love you, my son." Jesus took off his crown and laying it down said, "Father, thy will be done."
Deck the halls with boughs of holly. La 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 la. 'Tis the season to be jolly. La 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 la.
Some happy glad day, some wonderful morning. Santa's on his way. Gonna shout and shine as the pretty bells chime. I'm looking to see what waits for me by and by.
See the disco ball before us. Fa la 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 la, la 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 la. Ain't no job talking, it's an out of sight chorus. Fa la 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 la, la 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 la. Christmas here, we're gonna celebrate just like we did back in '78. Put your bell bottoms on, come and boogie down. That holiday fever is all around. Boogie down, it's for us, yeah, yeah. Boogie down, yeah. Don't we now? Our platform shoes,
Hark the herald angels sing. Hark the herald. Hark the herald. Hark the herald angels sing. Oh, hark the herald. Hark the herald. Hark the herald angels. Hark the herald angels sing. Glory to the newborn King. Peace on earth and mercy mild. God and sinners reckon. Celebrate joyful, all ye nations rise. Join the triumph of the skies.
of an angel that night. He called me by my name and told me not to be afraid. And he said that it was you, Lord. Behold, the baby was a boy. My broken heart rejoiced.
Hear the cries of Bethlehem. Oh, children, come. Son of God, now born to men. Oh, children, come. Bring your troubles, bring your fears, bring the needs that draw you here. Find the hope of all the years. Oh, children, come. The sun come on, our hope, our great redeemer. Christ is
You know you're the mastermind. Run, run, Rudolph. Randolph ain't too far behind. Run, run, Rudolph. Santa's gotta make it to town. Run, 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 Rudolph. Santa make him hurry. Tell him he can take the freeway down. Run, Rudolph. Run, Rudolph. Run, run, Rudolph. 'Cause I'm really like a merry-go-round. Santa to a boy child, what have you been longing for? What have you been longing for? All I want for Christmas is a rock and roll electric guitar. A rock and roll electric guitar. Then away went Rudolph, whizzing like a shooting star. Away went Rudolph like a shooting star.
We are surely blessed to have Jeremy here on our team. And he's the new guy here. And we want to bless him with a beautiful Christmas gift.
Oh, thank you, Edgardo. That's nice of you.
Tell me if this is not beautiful.
Wow.
This is special for you, my brother.
I'm not sure what to say. Well, I'm glad that I brought something for you too, because
really?
being the new guy, I want to make
Wow.
sure that I come off on the right foot and start things off well. So I got
I
you a
am
little
blessed
gift as
tonight.
well. And so I'm glad that we're exchanging sweaters.
What is that?
This is for you.
Really? Oh, man.
It's Merry Christmas.
Can you believe this?
I think it'll look great on you.
Thank you so much. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it a lot.
Well, we're glad you're all here. Hope you enjoy the program. Merry Christmas and God bless you.
Merry Christmas.
Everybody needs a Christmas sweater. And happy Christmas sweaters are the best. They're festive and they're neat, and no outfit is complete without some Merry Christmas on your chest. Everybody needs a Christmas sweater. And only Christmas sweaters are the best. Oh, they're festive and they're neat, and no outfit is complete without some Merry Christmas on your chest. They're festive and they're neat, and no outfit is complete without some Merry Christmas on your chest. Wise men saw where the baby was born. Wise men saw where the baby was born. Wise men saw where the baby was born, and they said that his name was Jesus. He came from the glory. He came from the glorious kingdom. He came from the glory. He came from the glorious kingdom. Oh yes, baby bird. Oh yes, baby bird. Oh yes, baby bird. Oh yes, baby bird.
After the angels left, they were like, "Come on, guys, we need to see this baby." And there were 3 kings. They followed the star all the way to where Jesus was born. It was really long way. When they got to where Jesus was, they gave him birthday presents. The presents weren't really what a baby would want, but more of what his parents would want. And they got angels of visitors. And there was a giant star. Everyone was there, and there was a big party. That night was the best night ever. It was the best night ever. How could it be a silent night?
Shout, shout, go tell it on the mountain. Praise, praise, let no one stop us shouting. Run, run, let your feet take flight. With such good news, it can't be a silent night.
Born unto us this day a Savior, gifted from heaven to a manger. The hope of the world alive through all mankind. Yeah.
It's about giving love and sharing quality time with each other.
So what you're saying is, it wasn't about the star, it was about where the star was leading?
Exactly.
It wasn't about the stable, but rather the baby in the manger.
Bingo.
Christmas isn't about presents or tree or food. It's about celebrating our Savior's birth.
It isn't about the stress, but about peace. I understand all of that, but it's just not as easy as it looks.
Well, that's why we all have to pitch in and work, but most importantly, even in our busiest times, we must be joyful. God is not concerned about the little things that stresses us out. He's concerned about our relationship with Him.
So what you're saying is to simplify Christmas?
Well, God is King and is the Lord above all things. When we are stressed, we're not recognizing that God is the King. We're putting temporary problems above an eternal God. His light should envelop the darkness. His presence will replace your stress with peace, your anxiety with joy, your fear with His love.
I get it now. From now on, we'll work together as a family and treat each other well and put Jesus first on Christmas and every other day of the year.
And even when life gets busy, we will find joy in Christ.
Oh, holy night, the stars are brightly shining. It is the night of our dear Savior's birth. Long lay the world in sin and error pining, till He appeared and the soul felt His worth. A thrill of hope, the weary world rejoices, for yonder breaks a new and glorious morn. Far
Oh, come, all ye faithful, joyful and triumphant. Come ye, oh, come ye to Bethlehem. Come and behold him, born the King of ages. Oh, come, let us adore him. Oh, come, let us adore him. Oh, come, let us adore him. Christ, Christ, the angels sing in exaltations. Sing, all ye citizens of heaven above. Glory to God, oh, glory in the highest. Oh, come, let us adore him. Oh, come, let us adore him. Oh, come, let us adore him. Christ, Christ, yeah, Lord, we greet thee. Born this happy morning, Jesus to thee be. Oh, glory give. Word of the Father, now in flesh appearing. Oh, come, let us adore him. Oh, come, let us adore him. Oh, come, let us adore him. Christ, the Lord. Christ the Lord.
rejoice to the Son of God and man.
You know, the year 2020 really threw us for a loop. None of us would have imagined that we would be shut down totally as a city. And even beyond that, none of us ever imagined that that limitation of how we presented the Living Christmas Tree would stretch all the way into this year, 2021. But it did, and so we adjusted accordingly. We knew we needed to do something. It was too much of a part of our community for us not to do it. And so, in 2020, we decided to go virtual.
So we asked singers and instrumentalists come in one at a time. They recorded their lines, and I gotta tell you, the singers, half of them didn't show up because it's scary, but they did it because they love you all. And then we got Ted to combine all of those and create beautiful music. And Michael Head then worked his camera magic, and we went out and recorded the story, put it all together, and hours of work turned into a worship service just virtual.
Yeah. So as we come to this portion of this presentation, I just want to reiterate what we said at the very beginning. We want to wish you and your family a very Merry Christmas. It is a high honor for us as a church to make this presentation as part of the El Paso community Christmas traditions. But beyond that, we hope and we pray that through the music of these presentations through these 57 years now, that you would have been able to kind of connect with the peace and the hope, the joy, and the love of Jesus Christ. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. So, I'll bring a suit next time, I guess.
Actually, see if you can find out where I can get one of those shirts.
Yeah, real men wear flowers.
Oh, that's what I hear. That's right. God bless you, man.
You
Love
too.
you.